On September 13th, got a call all over the radio saying we had a 250, 300 pounder on a bait, and the bear was in at about 8 o'clock. And they wanted me to come over and throw my dogs down on it. So I drove all the way over there. Took about half hour, 45 minutes. Got there, turned my 3 dogs loose that I figured could start the bear. Every dog decided to take a different direction. And my young dog went out, was barking, and then he started barking kind of weird, which was different. He turned around, came back to the truck really fast. Tried throwing him back in the bait and he wouldn't go, so I threw him back in the truck. One of my other older dogs went out to the road. There's a bunch of traffic on the road, so I just grabbed him and put him in the truck. By that time, my old dog, Trigger, was going out. He was half mile out at that point. We drove down the road and he kept going out barking decent. Then he started showing treat at about 3/4 of a mile. Then he started moving, so we figured he had the bear caught. So I started getting ready to take some more dogs in. Alex came up to me and asked if I wanted him to take dogs in, and I told him I don't care who takes dogs in, we just got to get more dogs to him. So at that point, Alex grabbed my 2 dogs, ran in there.
I went running in there and I grabbed these 2 dogs, Rat and Lacey, and went running in there. I hit where Trigger crossed kind of an old, I didn't know if it was an old logging road or an old ATV trail where they crossed. I cut them both loose and they both went off barking good. And I started to walk out, and for some reason I stayed there. And they got about 100 yards away from Trigger and they both split off and they shut up. And it puzzled me, these dogs would never leave a caught bear. So I started walking in there and I seen Lacey running around and I called her over to me and I leashed her up and I tried cutting her loose a few times and she wouldn't go, and I kept on walking. Me not being able to hear this older dog didn't puzzle me at all. You gotta be, 200 yards away from this dog to even hear him faintly barking. Well, I got about 200 yards away from where Trigger was when Rat was starting to work his way to me. Well, I called him and he ran as fast as he could to get right to me and bent over. I leashed him up and I looked up and here was 6 wolves trotting towards me. I stood up, I started hooting and hollering and yelling, and they just looked at me like I was dumb or something, like a puppy. Like you're squeaking a squeaky toy and a puppy just looks at you. I knew either Trigger was in bad shape or he was dead. The whole way back to him, they followed me there, and then they followed me all the way back, and the whole way they wouldn't get further than 20 yards from me. Got out on the trail, and at that point Nick was on his way back to the trucks, and I could see it because I had his dogs in my GPS, and walking down the trail, 3 wolves on each side of the trail, followed me all the way out.
Then Nick shows up with his truck. He drives in there with his 4-wheeler with more dogs, and he radios back out, says he hears Alex calling for the dogs. So I said, well, apparently they didn't have anything. So Nick came back out with his wheeler and went back in to go get Alex. So at that point in time, Nick radioed out and told us that Trigger was dead, but he was killed by wolves. So I got a hold of somebody that was in cell phone range and had him get a hold of the DNR for us. Well, the DNR got a hold of the biologist. Then the biologist wanted me to walk back in. Well, the dog is almost a mile off the road, and put a shirt on top of my dog so the wolves didn't eat him. Well, in my head, I don't know how long this biologist is going to take to get out here. So I'm not going to leave the road, go put a shirt on a dog while he drives out here. So then the biologist ended up calling this other guy back, and the guy told him, you do realize that there was a 17-year-old kid in there that got escorted out by 6 wolves. And that changed the biologist's tune and he said, go get your dog. And the warden showed up and wanted to do the investigation themselves. So they tried getting a hold of the biologist and could not do it. So they decided that we were going to walk in there and try and figure things out and take pictures for the biologist. That way, if we go in there and Trigger's gone, the biologist still has pictures of something. Well, we walked all the way in there. Trigger was not there no more. We roamed the area. Well, I finally found a spot where it was mowed down and there was blood all over. And it was a furrow. Well, I just followed that furrow. It looked like he drug a deer through there. And I eventually found him. Well, I called everybody over there and they took their pictures and then they backtracked to where he was, took more pictures. Well, then they came up and asked Alex, well, is this how you found the dog when you found him? Alex said no. The hide was stripped off the dog and a little bit off of his end. Well, when we got there, the dog was gone. There's his head, rib cage, spinal cord. There's one leg hanging off of him. So then I had to carry my dog back out, and when we finally got back out, the biologist finally pulled up. So it took him that long to get there. That was 4 hours. So if we wouldn't have went in there, how much further would he have been gone? And then the biologist goes, how much is this dog worth to you? That dog was priceless. I raised that dog from a puppy. You know, he's part of my family. My daughter has been around that dog. My newborn son was around that dog. That dog has touched a lot of hearts. So he wants a price on this dog. I said, you don't have enough money to pay for that dog. And he goes, well, I have to write something. I said, if you stood here with $10,000 cash in your hand, I could not take it for that dog. It's priceless. Everybody says that these dogs are just tools to us. No, they're not. They are family. And I don't know if I'm going to get compensated for it. I really don't care. These animals need to be controlled. And as of right now, there is no control.
Is it going to take a person dying?
Look at this scenario with Alex. If a coyote would have been there, that thing would have been gone right now. Where were these wolves? They were nipping at his ankles pretty much. They're not scared. How much closer do you need to be to killing somebody that's not right? And that was not the way that dog was supposed to die. That dog could have got killed doing what he loved, or he could have died of old age.
And once an animal starts knowing that it's not untouchable, they become a lot, not coming into people's yards and killing their calves and everything else.
Not only that, I just seen a video where there are wolves dying of disease because they're overpopulated. Well, that's not a good way to have things going out there. That's why you control all deer herds. All you're going to do is come up with the disease that kills wolves, and they're going to start dying from mange. You want a thriving population, you still got to manage it. But that's my story.